Mount Everest is the highest mountain on Earth, standing at 8,849 meters above sea level. It is a place where the rules of ordinary life no longer apply. Temperatures can fall below -60 degrees Celsius. Powerful winds can reach speeds capable of throwing climbers from exposed ridges, and the thin air contains only a fraction of the oxygen available at sea level. Above 8,000 meters lies an area known as the death zone, a region where the human body slowly begins to shut down. Every minute spent there pushes a climber closer to physical and mental collapse. For more than a century, Everest has attracted adventurers from around the world. Some have reached the summit and returned home as legends. Others have never returned at all. Yet beyond the stories of survival and tragedy lies another side of Everest, one that has fascinated climbers, researchers, and historians for decades. It is a collection of strange encounters, unexplained sightings, and mysterious experiences reported by people who ventured into the highest and most dangerous environment on the planet. One of the earliest mysteries connected to Everest began in 1924. British climbers George Mallory and Andrew Irvine set out on an ambitious attempt to reach the summit. At the time, no one had successfully climbed Everest, and reaching the top was considered one of the greatest challenges in exploration. On June 8th, fellow expedition member Noel Odell spotted the two men high on the northeast ridge. Through a brief opening in the clouds, he watched them climbing steadily toward the summit. Moments later, the weather closed in, and the climbers disappeared from sight. Neither man was ever seen alive again. For decades, the fate of Mallory and Irvine remained one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in mountaineering history. Did they reach the summit before they died? Did they fall during their descent? No one knew. In 1999, a search expedition discovered Mallory's body more than 8,000 meters above sea level. The remains were remarkably preserved by the cold conditions. However, Irvine's body was never found, and neither was the camera that could potentially reveal whether the pair had reached the summit before their deaths. As the years passed, another strange pattern began to emerge. Climbers ascending the northeast ridge reported unusual experiences. Some claimed they saw a lone figure moving ahead of them through the fog and snow. Others described sensing another person nearby, despite being completely alone. A few reported hearing voices or feeling as though someone was guiding them through dangerous sections of the mountain. These reports came from different expeditions, different countries, and different decades, yet many of the descriptions shared remarkable similarities. Modern science offers a possible explanation for these experiences. Extreme altitude places enormous stress on the human brain. Oxygen deprivation, exhaustion, dehydration, isolation, and severe cold can all affect perception. Under these conditions, climbers may experience vivid hallucinations that feel completely real. However, some reports are difficult to dismiss because the experiences often occur among highly trained mountaineers who are fully aware of the dangers of altitude sickness. One of the most famous explanations for such encounters is a phenomenon known as the third man factor. This term describes the sensation of an unseen companion appearing during moments of extreme hardship. The phenomenon has been reported by explorers, sailors, soldiers, and disaster survivors throughout history. Individuals experiencing it often describe feeling that another person is walking beside them, offering guidance, encouragement, or protection. The presence feels so real that many remain convinced they were not alone, even after returning to safety. The third man factor gained widespread attention after Antarctic explorer Ernest Shackleton described a similar experience during his famous survival journey in 1916. Shackleton and his companions crossed dangerous terrain under impossible conditions, and multiple members of the group later reported sensing an additional person traveling alongside them. Similar accounts have emerged from deserts, oceans, polar regions, and high mountains. Everest appears to be one of the places where this phenomenon is reported most frequently. Perhaps one of the most remarkable accounts came from Reinhold Messner, widely considered one of the greatest mountaineers in history. In 1980, Messner achieved what many believed was impossible by climbing Everest alone and without supplemental oxygen. The accomplishment remains one of the most extraordinary achievements in mountaineering. Yet during the climb, Messner later described feeling accompanied by an invisible presence. He sensed another individual moving beside him, despite knowing that no one else was there. For a climber known for his discipline and realism, the experience was difficult to ignore. The mountain itself may play a significant role in these reports. Everest is not only a climbing route, but also a graveyard. More than 200 bodies are believed to remain on the mountain. Many are located in areas so dangerous that recovery is nearly impossible. Unlike lower elevations, where nature gradually reclaims the dead, Everest's freezing temperatures preserve bodies for decades. Some remain visible near established climbing routes and have become grim landmarks for those making the ascent. This reality creates an environment unlike any other on Earth. Climbers moving through the death zone often encounter forms in the snow that appear to be living people. From a distance, a frozen body can resemble a resting climber. Exhausted individuals sometimes approach, believing someone needs assistance, only to discover that the person has been dead for years. Such experiences can have a profound psychological impact, especially when combined with extreme fatigue and oxygen deprivation. One of the most well-known examples involved American climber Francis Arsenyev, who died on Everest in 1998 after successfully reaching the summit without supplemental oxygen. Her body remained visible on the mountain for years and became known among climbers as Sleeping Beauty because of her peaceful appearance. Many who passed her reported feeling deeply disturbed by the sight. Even knowing the truth, some described an overwhelming urge to stop and help her. The experience highlighted how easily the mind can blur the boundary between life and death in such an environment. The dangers of altitude extend far beyond physical exhaustion. A condition known as high-altitude cerebral edema, or HACE, occurs when the brain swells due to a lack of oxygen. It is one of the most dangerous medical emergencies on Everest and can rapidly become fatal. Symptoms include confusion, impaired judgment, loss of coordination, and vivid hallucinations. Climbers suffering from HACE have been known to wander away from safety, remove critical equipment, or become convinced that imaginary situations are real. The infamous 1996 Everest disaster provided several examples of how dramatically the mind can be affected at extreme altitude. During a powerful storm that claimed multiple lives, survivors reported experiencing vivid visions and hearing voices while struggling to stay alive. Some described conversations with people who were not there. Others experienced dreamlike states while remaining fully conscious. These accounts demonstrated how fragile human perception becomes in the death zone. Yet not every story can be explained solely through medical conditions. Some climbers have reported shared experiences involving multiple individuals witnessing the same thing at the same time. One account from the Northeast Ridge involved a group of climbers who independently described seeing a figure moving ahead of them through poor visibility. According to their reports, the figure appeared to guide them away from a dangerous section of the route before suddenly disappearing. Scientists suggest that shared perceptual distortions can occur under extreme conditions, but such stories continue to fuel debate among those fascinated by Everest's mysteries. The Sherpa people, whose families have lived in the region for generations, view the mountain very differently from most Western climbers. To them, Everest is known as Chomolungma, meaning Mother Goddess of the World. It is not merely a mountain, but a sacred place inhabited by powerful spiritual forces. Before expeditions begin, Sherpas traditionally perform ceremonies known as puja rituals to seek blessings and protection. Many believe the mountain possesses its own awareness and that respect for it is essential. Whether viewed through the lens of science, psychology, or spiritual belief, Everest remains one of the most extraordinary environments on Earth. It pushes the human body and mind to their absolute limits. It exposes weaknesses, tests endurance, and confronts climbers with conditions few people can truly imagine. In such a place, certainty becomes difficult to maintain. The distinction between reality and perception can become blurred, and experiences that seem impossible elsewhere suddenly feel plausible. More than 300 people have lost their lives on Everest since climbing attempts first began. Their stories remain woven into the mountain's history, preserved alongside the ice, rock, and snow. Some see the mysterious encounters reported by climbers as evidence of the mind struggling to survive under impossible conditions. Others believe there is something deeper taking place, something that science has not yet fully explained. Whatever the truth may be, Everest continues to inspire the same questions generation after generation. It remains a place where human ambition collides with nature at its most extreme. A place where survival itself becomes uncertain, and a place where many who have stood high above the clouds return with stories that challenge their understanding of reality, leaving behind mysteries that continue to endure long after the climb is over.